Back. Tom Davis together with Jon Meoli from the Baltimore Sun, Ed Encina from the Baltimore Sun. They come as a group, now, like Ruth and Gehrig, they're here with us. And let's talk a little bit about Tyler Wilson now back with the club and Mr. Castro back down.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles, as what we're learning is becoming a regular daily thing is they made another roster move before the game, adding Tyler Wilson from AAA Norfolk. Yesterday, they optioned Miguel Castro down to AAA Norfolk, and we all have seen what Tyler Wilson can do in an extended role, giving them some length. Obviously, he can start it if they need him to, but right now it's to be that seventh man in the bullpen. But this also has a lot to do with Miguel Castro. He obviously pitched very well in two appearances in Detroit, 3 scoreless innings, and right now, I think what they really want to do is just kind of stretch him out. And I think they really see him as a possible starting option down the road with some seasoning. He's got a good arm. That's why they got him. He's 22 years old. And, if he really works on specifically the changeup, they think that he can really start keeping left-handed hitters honest. And he might be one of these guys who, down the road, becomes not just one of these guys on the shuttle of relievers, but maybe a guy who can pick up a spot start here and there as well.
Yeah, and I think that the future aspect is one of the more interesting ones of this. Castro, Buck Showalter said, was going to go on the Tanner Scott plan. Tanner Scott, obviously a reliever with a really promising future down at AA Bowie. He's been starting every 5 days on a 3-4 inning thing. He's getting the bullpen day in between. Really gets a chance to work on those secondary pitches. These guys who have these huge arms like Scott and Miguel Castro, they don't get that time to really hone that secondary stuff the way they would normally as a reliever, because you have you're pitching every other day in a game. You're just doing your throwing work to stay ready, and you don't really get that time to work with it. I know they really, really have high hopes for Castro. He's the type of arm, this team churns out relievers, but he's got that kind of upside at age 22 that the Orioles are really looking for, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they let him develop.
Now, we just found out that Gabriel Ynoa has been reactivated from the disabled list. He had a hamstring problem after he pitched here with the Orioles and was sent back to Norfolk. Ed, what are your thoughts on Ynoa and his future with the club as a starter or reliever?
Yeah, and Ynoa, he's another one of these guys who the Orioles got, and right now they're trying to figure out where he best fits. And Ynoa threw a sim game today. It was his first time, really having live action against hitters since going on the DL. But we saw what he could do. He threw 6 scoreless innings in relief. And at that point, he's a guy that has a proven track record. He hasn't had an extended track record as far as a major league club. But right now, what they're going to do is, like you said, is he's going to go down to AAA Norfolk, and he's going to continue to be stretched out as a starter. And I think right now, what the Orioles are really trying to do is really try to see, there's a lot of options down in AAA Norfolk, but trying to see really what these young arms are and really try to see whether they're best utilized as relievers or starters. And that doesn't really necessarily stop the Norfolk shuttle, because Gabriel Ynoa could come down at any point. And a lot of that has to do with not necessarily who these guys are, but also on timing, rest, who's scheduled to pitch, a lot of different factors, the need that's presented to the major league club. But right now, I think what the team looks at is that Gabriel Ynoa is best used in AAA right now as he continues to really kind of find himself as a starter to be that kind of option for the big league club.
Yeah, and I go back all the time to what Buck Showalter said during spring training. He said ideally the Orioles would have a set of guys who were their kind of up and down relievers, who would do what Tyler Wilson's doing, do what Logan Verrett's done, and kind of come up and down as a reliever and not really get too much out of the routine because they're not starting. And then you have guys like Ynoa, Christopher Lee, maybe Mike Wright, who are the guys who are the starters. And I think that's something they're kind of running into now with Alec Asher. Now Ynoa was in the bullpen for a long time. These are guys that they view as long-term starters, and they want to develop. They want to keep the ball in their hand, as they say, and really get them those innings and make sure they're stretched out so they have those starting options. And at the same time, the needs of the club kind of change that. So that's evolved a lot since spring training. You've had Asher up for 2-3 weeks now as one of the top relievers. He's getting 8th inning appearances in close games, and he's giving them that length. It's really something that's developed, and I know they've envisioned something more for both him and Ynoa when it comes to that role. And it's just going to be interesting to see, how long it is before he comes back up. Are they going to let him start? Are they going to, eventually let Asher stretch out a little more? I think that's something that's really going to develop soon.